Have you ever been jealous of someone's confidence? I had a friend a few years ago who, although genuinely I've never treated them unkindly, I used to harbor a lot of jealous thoughts about or towards because I didn't understand why they felt so confident, why they felt like they deserved to take up space in the world. And I didn't realize at the time, but I was so heavily bound in shame and internalized rejection that it felt to me like I would never have that level of confidence. And so it had this, it made this feeling of jealousy and deep envy and almost a hidden grief come up in me. And I never knew at the time how to articulate it, how to understand it, how to, unravel it so it wasn't a barrier or this hidden kind of nasty feeling within the friendship. And I ended up kind of eventually distancing myself because I couldn't tolerate that discomfort of looking at someone living out loud in the way that I wanted to, expressing themselves in the way that I wanted to, while I felt like I couldn't. My voice, my creativity, my joy, my enjoyment of life almost felt imprisoned in this low self esteem and this low self confidence. And at the time, it felt like I would never escape it. It felt like it would never change. But it did. And now I have some perspective around it, and I kind of want to debrief with you if this is something that you're struggling with and just share some of the insights that I've gained in the process. Now, at the time, it just felt like she was confident and I wasn't. She was worthy and almost entitled of living a good life, and I felt like, again, I wasn't. What I didn't realize at the time is that she had a foundation of love and relational safety that I just didn't have. I had experienced a lot of emotional isolation, neglect, instability in my early familial relationships that resulted in very low self esteem and a kind of deep internalized rejection that I didn't have words around at the time. And there was also this lack of affirmation and validation that I experienced in my earlier years that I didn't know was the building block for low self esteem. And I kind of inadvertently learned that I didn't deserve love. I didn't deserve relational safety, that I would never experience the depth of love and positivity and hope and joy that other people would experience. And seeing that being expressed so irreverently, so like just so much, like in such a rich way, I was like, it just filled me with envy. I was like, how dare you? How dare you revel in your beauty? How dare you revel in your creativity? How dare you revel in your imperfections and like embrace them so fully while also loving yourself and enjoying your just like all of your being. And I was like, how dare you? And I realize now that that person was living out loud in a way that I felt like I didn't have the permission to. They were loving themselves and embodying this beauty in a way that I was still holding my breath, expecting someone else to come and say, yeah, you deserve to be happy. Yeah, you deserve to have joy. Yes, your life is yours to live. I was still waiting for somebody external to me to come along and say, you're worthy. And I felt like, although I was waiting for someone, I felt like it was never going to happen. And so I kind of just felt trapped in this suspenseful place where it felt like I would never fully enjoy life. I would never fully deeply enjoy life and embody that kind of depth of self-love, of confidence, of almost, entitlement to beauty, entitlement to joy. Um, it sounds horrible saying it now because like I understand where it comes from, but I felt really guilty at the time. And I still kind of do in some ways, but now I know that the difference between me and that person was that foundation of love, whether it was relational love or self-love. And oftentimes, there's no distinction between the two, but right now I've learned that even if you don't experience relational love, you can source internal love within yourself. You can begin to speak kindly towards yourself, to speak positively about yourself. And another thing that changed so drastically for me was that when I began to know the love of God, it so drastically changed my self-concept that I don't even think of other people as better than me. I think of myself as a child of God. And so I no longer look outside of myself or outside of God to give me worth, to give me confidence, to give me value. So not only am I no longer waiting for someone to tell me that I'm worthy, I've learned to take risks, hence this video. I've learned that mistakes don't define my identity. I try not to, I'm still in the process, but I try not to associate my inherent value with the things that I do, the value that I provide to other people. I now feel like I have permission to trust myself, and that also gives me permission to make mistakes without feeling guilty or inherently shameful or rejecting and overly criticizing myself. And in that process, I'm also learning self-trust. I'm also learning how to self-validate, self-affirm, how to have self-compassion in the instances where I do make mistakes or where I do impact someone negatively. And in a way, I'm grateful that I get to look back on that season of my life where I felt so shame-bound and not only feel guilt, but I also get to feel a sense of pride. I'm proud of myself for learning how to internally source my value, that I don't have to look to other people to give me that sense of value. And I also don't have to compare myself or envy anyone, because even though I'm not necessarily where I want to be or where I think I should be in my own confidence, I can tell that I'm growing, and I now have this ingrained sense of lovability and this positive self-concept that I really never had before. And so I feel a sense of gratitude and appreciation for that version of me that was so shame-bound, because now I have a point to contrast with, at a time where now I feel so self-loving. There was a season of my life where I felt like that was not even a possibility. And I get to now look back and think, not only is it going to be okay, but that it already is becoming okay, as in like that, like my confidence isn't built overnight, but the fact that I can see a version of me who was so bound in shame that they wanted someone else to not be as confident, so that I don't feel, crappy about myself, so I don't feel, bad about myself and where I was in my confidence. I'm like, it's so beautiful to see that I now don't need anyone to dim their light in order for me to feel like I have permission to shine. And it's really, really lovely. It's a lovely place to be, and I love that for me. I don't know how else to say it, but I love that for me. But yeah, this is a very vulnerable share. I feel kind of gross. I feel kind of icky about it because, you know, a lot of the time I'm sharing about like positivity and stuff, and it's hard to admit to experiencing jealousy. But if it's something that you've been through and something that you've reflected on or grown from, I'd love to know, because I've been on both sides. I've been around people who, you know, saw me as someone to be envied, and I would try to dim myself to kind of make those people uncomfortable. Sometimes, you know, sometimes it just happens. And so it's not something that we intentionally do. So I've been on the side where I've envied something and a quality that I saw in someone that was suppressed within myself. And I've also seen other people who are incredibly beautiful and have like vast potential because God all made us in that way. I've seen them envy me and think, oh my goodness, you should be, it's so beautiful to be you. Like, why would you want to be me? Like, you have so many beautiful qualities. Like, why would you want to either dim my light or think that my life might be better? That if you had my experience, your life might be, you know, better. But yeah, anyways, I'm just curious if you resonate. But yeah, that's it. Yeah, if you're not following me already, please do subscribe, like, comment, save this video for later if this is something that you're still processing, and I will see you soon. I love you, friend.